welcome back to Narrative Live. Sorry, you guys, we had some technical issues with bringing our guest on the show, so we wanted to go ahead and tape an interview with her because we don't want you to miss out on the great information she's going to bring to everybody. So we were talking about Facebook and the 2020 election, and if we're really ready, if democracy is ready. So if we're going to talk about that, we also need to talk about Cambridge Analytica. Are they really out of Facebook? About a year ago, CBS did an interview with Brad Parscale, and they ran this story. And the headline says, Trump campaign phased out use of Cambridge Analytica data before the election. Okay, so we wanted to find out if that is indeed true. So we asked our friend, Emily Lass, to join us. Hi, Emily. We finally got you.
Hi, Emily.
Hi
nice
there.
to see you.
Hi,
She is a digitally. We can see you and we can hear you.
Which is a good thing.
Thank God.
The third try must be the charm, Emily. So she is a digital marketing consultant based in New York City, and she has been investigating the links between Cambridge Analytica, Facebook, and the Trump campaign. So we want to talk to you about all of your research, Emily. How did you get started on this journey?
Well, where to begin? So I'd say it was probably like mid 2017. I'm a digital marketing consultant, as you know, and I got access to a social media intelligence platform. There were several around the time, and Facebook actually, changed things up with their APIs that all those companies actually had to close their doors about, I'd say, December 2017. And through that tool, I could see all dark posts. I could see, for any Facebook page, all the ads that they had run. And so I started looking through those. I found the Defeat Crooked Hillary videos. Those ads were run by Cambridge Analytica. They took credit in the Channel 4 undercover piece for having run that whole campaign, but it was paid for by the Mercer's PAC, Make America Number One. So through that, that platform shut down, and I wanted to pull all of Trump and Pence's dark posts, but I didn't have enough time, or the opportunity was lost. So I spent a few months trying to figure out how else I could get it. And long story short, I figured out just a little very simple trick, kind of open source, and I found all these dark posts, and now have about, I think, 2,500 or so. And I'd say the most interesting part about these links, about the ads, is that what I do, and part of what I do for a living, is I do a lot around digital analytics. And so when it comes to tracking, an advertiser wants to have, full, I'd say very wide and broad understanding of who's coming to their site and what they're doing there. So what they do is they attach tracking code to their links to their website, and they put that within the ad. That way they can know this visitor to our website came from Facebook, and we targeted them this way, and any other information they want to put in there. So I believe that
this is just a code. This is just a code that every ad you see on Facebook has some sort of tracking code, or and that you can basically tell the source of each ad.
I'd say that, not every ad, but it takes a certain sophistication in terms of who the marketer is and how sophisticated their tracking is. But think of it like, for a marketer, when I look at an ad and I could see the tracking link, it's like a string of a DNA. It's telling me, what that advertiser had intended with that ad. So
I think this is an example of what one of these looks like. Is this I know this is a spreadsheet of your findings, but in the left side there, is that the tracking code that you're looking at, and in blue there? Or okay, so it's a string of numbers and words that mean nothing to me or Tracy probably, but they mean the world to you.
Exactly, yeah. So it's giving me a sense, and actually in the Daily Beast article, I believe Kevin Paulson, the reporter, referred to these the coding here as the hobos code for digital marketers. So I speak this language.
Interesting. So if I look at that very first one that you've tracked, it says Cambridge plus Analytica.
Yeah, so the way that they, their naming conventions changed a little bit here and there, but what obviously stuck out at me most when I found these is that a lot of these links, I have about 830 of them, that these links actually contain Cambridge Analytica in some cases, and then a little further into the campaign, they started writing Cambridge audiences. So that tells us, they can tell any story they want. They can't seem to get their story straight about what Cambridge Analytica did, but we at least know they used something, they got value from Cambridge Analytica. There's been very different.
Exactly right. Mm-hmm. So, and I guess my next question is, the article stated that all of this, they didn't have anything to do with Cambridge Analytica right up until before the election. After that, they wiped their hands clean, so to speak, of Cambridge Analytica. And I think that you found through some of your links that may not be true. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have Cambridge, it says Cambridge audiences. So I have Cambridge Analytica targeted ads going through inauguration. The last one that I have is from January 31st, 2017 for their, like trying to promote like the FEC deadline for January is coming up to push for donations. And that's a really important part of this. Sorry,
yeah, I was just going to point out that we have a slide here that's showing they did an ad that was asking to win tickets to the inauguration. So clearly this was after Trump had already won, post-election.
Yeah, and actually that website is actually really interesting for those inauguration tickets. I know that obviously there's a lot of interest and investigation going on when it comes to Trump's inaugural committee. But what we know also is that this kind of sign up for free tickets to attend was taking place on a different website. I believe it was like 58 pick 2017. It's in my spreadsheet if you take a look, and that site is dead. So, I of course have archived versions, but there's definitely a lot of, I've had a lot of questions about what was happening, on the back end of that site. They were really pushing those inauguration tickets, free tickets really hard. I mean, anyone can show up, let's be real.
And it's so what you're saying is basically after the election, and even during the election when they said they weren't working with Cambridge Analytica, Facebook not only was showing Cambridge Analytica ads and Trump campaign ads made by or targeted by Cambridge Analytica, but that they're still up now, or that they were still up all the way into at least when you were doing your research?
So many are still up. So there's a few little nuances here. So what happens is after you run an ad on Facebook, the media assets, so the actual the components of the ad still exist on Facebook unless you completely delete the ads from your account. So what happens is this is on the landing page that you're showing here, but if you look at the ad on Facebook, these are all with videos, and the ads, so I was able to access these. In the case of Trump, what's interesting is that Trump's ads from all of 2016 have been completely deleted from Facebook's ad platform where advertisers are managing their campaigns. It's called Business Manager. But Pence ran identical ads to those of Trump's. I'm talking same ad copy, same videos, and just maybe minor tweaks for pronouns and stuff. So all of those ads still exist.
So despite Zuckerberg's saying that Cambridge is no longer allowed to use the platform, that they're banned, you're saying that their ads are still out there targeting people?
So they are not. So the ads, even the media assets can be reached, yes, but they're not actually active in targeting people.
Got it.
That's, as far as we know from the, from the breadcrumbs that I've gotten it from their links, this stopped, at least they stopped, writing Cambridge Analytica into their links in the end of January 2017. Of course, Cambridge Analytica's mark on their campaign, there could still be more. When the Daily Beast asked for comment, the Trump campaign had said that Cambridge Analytica had built the audiences off of the RNC's data. They acknowledged that these are in their links, but they completely denied the fact, the idea that this was coming from internal Cambridge Analytica data. So, yeah, so that's.
So they were distancing themselves as far as they could from that.
Yes, and the same goes for the RNC. The same way you can see Cambridge Analytica in those URLs, but that's only in, let's say, 830 or so. In many, many more, nearly all of them, you can always find RNC. And that's because the RNC team is who runs the show when it comes to doing the Facebook ads. Gary Kobe, I know, and I believe, of course, there's several others involved, but he's definitely the lead, and he has said that himself on Twitter. He's also put up, there's multiple tweets he's put up where he's denied Cambridge Analytica's involvement. For the best example is the third debate of the 2016 election, that there's a lot of, I'd say, good press after the election, of course, about Trump's digital savvy and how well his campaign did on Facebook. And they bragged a lot about all the different ad variations and the real push that they did for the third debate in particular. And Alexander Nix of Cambridge Analytica took a lot of, I'd say, credit for this as well and spoke about it. And Kobe of the RNC said, Cambridge Analytica, actually his words were like 100% lie. Cambridge Analytica had nothing to do with this.
So interesting.
But if you go to my spreadsheet, or if you take a look at some of these links from around October 19th and 20th, 2016, you'll see that there were tons of Cambridge Analytica targeted ads.
Well, this is just fascinating research. You've done a lot of incredible work here, and all out of the interest of getting the information out. And so, thank you very much for sharing it with us today on Narrative Live. It's really fascinating to see the amount of obfuscation and confusion that has been put up by everybody to try and hide Cambridge Analytica's involvement in the Facebook campaigns, but also in the campaign in general. And it certainly seems like they were there before, and they'll be back, probably not directly, but they'll be back again. Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Emily.
And one thing, if you don't mind, I just wanted to, I heard your earlier discussion about dark social. Yeah. And I just wanted to add that, like, yes, I think this is a ongoing discussion, and there's a lot to consider with this. Some may even think of this as just a return that more of your time will be spent text messaging instead of, interacting, with the larger audience on social channels. But I just also want to raise one thing that has to do with Cambridge Analytica, which is, we talk a lot about dark social, about digital, because these are innovative, emerging platforms, but we can't forget about the original dark channels that are still pervasive in US politics, namely the phone and direct mail.
Right, you're absolutely right.
And I bring this up because that's allowing one-on-one conversation. It's even less trackable because it's not happening in digital. It's, I think, targeted to people who, especially think of the elderly, are not likely to go tell a reporter. I got this mailing about a Democratic candidate. And I bring this up because when Cambridge Analytica first came to the US and was doing campaign work a lot of it was in Colorado in 2014, they're connected to these mailers that went out that were that were attacking a state Senate candidate with completely false information, saying that he was in support of gender-specific abortions. So that you can be able to, so you can abort a child if you find out it's a boy but you want a girl. Shocking stuff. So and they also did a ton of robocalling that year, doing tons of surveys. There are tons of logs of complaints against SCL elections, calling people and taking political surveys. And most people actually thought that they were being called by Obama supporters or the Obama campaign. So these are really sneaky tactics.
Yeah, it's so untrackable, and it becomes so disturbing because, this entire narrative these days is filled with so much fake news and fake facts and fake allegations that, not being able to track it, this should almost be illegal. You should be able to track every message that's sent by any campaign or anyone like it. I just don't think it's we have our abilities yet to try and figure out how we're going to do it.
Going forward, it'll be interesting to see if any laws are changed, on how elections can be run in that sense.
Yeah.
And if we can get enough votes to do that before democracy dies. So
Sam is always the glass is half empty, and Tracy is always the glass is half full. So just keep that in mind.
Well, thanks for joining us, Emily. You're terrific. Thanks for being such a good sport tonight, because I know we've had a lot of those issues, and we'll love to have you back on another time on Narrative Live. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks, guys. Take care.